La Alteña Distillery was built in 1937 by Don Felipe Camarena. He was a great man. He had a great vision. He saw the potential to make a great tequila. He was my grandfather. It gives me great pride to be walking through these fields today with my daughter Fanny. Up here, in the highlands of Jalisco, the soil is very mineral-rich ground. We make our tequila honoring my grandfather's methods, the traditional way. For El Tesoro, we put care into each step and don't rush it, as we have waited for many long years for the agave to mature. It involves skill, art, passion, and a lot of hard work. El Tesoro is special to me. The land, the distillery, my family history, but what is also special are the people here at La Alteña. Most people who work here are related and their skills are passed down through generations. We are a community for sure. A community of highly skilled, hardworking, fantastic people. El Tesoro is a tequila defined by these skilled people. Each bottle you touch and taste, our community has crafted. If you look really closely into a bottle of El Tesoro, really closely, you may be able to see a piece of our soul.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Tequila Tuesday Show. I am your host, Justin Baldwin, and the tequila we're talking about today is El Tesoro, formerly known as El Tesoro de Don Felipe, for the reason that its founder is Don Felipe Camarena. Now, before he ever made tequila, Don Felipe took a really big risk, and he went to the highlands of Jalisco, Mexico, to plant his agave. At the time, almost all of the agaves were grown in the lowlands of Jalisco. So he took a risk, went out on his own, and started planting agaves in the highlands of Jalisco. Now, a lot of tequila brands grow their agaves in the highlands of Jalisco just because of the minerals and everything that is up there. By the way, depending on where the agaves are grown, whether the highlands or the lowlands, will affect the flavor of the tequila. And now that I'm thinking about it, one day I'll make a video talking about the differences and the flavor profiles that come out depending on where the agave is grown. But back to the tequila at hand today. And I'm really excited about this, particularly because of how the tequila is made. So, Don Felipe was growing agaves and selling agaves to tequila producers around him. Well, in 1937, something happened. There was a surplus of agaves to the point where the people that Don Felipe had contracts with decided they didn't want to buy agave from him anymore. There was no need to. There was so much they didn't have to go to him. So instead of throwing in the towel and just wholesaling his agaves or just letting them die, he decided that he was going to make his own tequila with his own agaves, following the tradition that his grandfather had shown him of how to make tequila. And in fact, that's still the way that El Tesoro is made today. So, they grow the agaves, the humidors come in, cut the agave down, make it into what's called a piña. It's chopped in half and sent off to the distillery. La Alteña is the name of the distillery that Don Felipe started in 1937. When it gets there, they cook the agaves in small brick ovens to make sure that everything is the same and it produces a sweeter tasting tequila. After it comes out of that, it is crushed using the Tahona press, the traditional 500-year traditional way of crushing the agave plants instead of a roller mill or more modern machinery that some companies use today. After that happens, it is fermented in wooden barrels. no, not barrels as in whiskey barrels, but the big, gigantic wooden barrels. They use copper pot stills, which is really important. We've talked about that before. And what's really cool about El Tesoro's Blanco, for instance, is whenever it is distilled, it is bottled. There's no diluting it with water or anything like that. Some companies dilute it with water, but they distill it down to the perfect alcohol by volume, to the perfect mixture, and boom, it's bottled right then. No water is used to break it down or dilute it or anything of that matter. La Alteña's NOM number is 1139. They make 2 other tequilas at the current time. At one point they did make another one that is no longer in existence. But La Alteña, it says this at 1937. This is the 750 milliliter bottle, and they do not have a smaller version. They have added an extra añejo, and by the way, in 2018, they won the gold medal for the International Spirits Championships for their Blanco, their añejo, and their extra añejo. They got the silver medal for their reposado at the time, but that was the first time that a tequila had dominated everything. And so I'm really, really excited to try this, not only because of the awards that it has achieved, but also because of how it's made. A few other things. So, and this is just some tequila talk for you guys. So, for past about 120 years, the agave plants never flowered. They never bloomed. They never did any of that. They were chopped and cut before they ever bloomed, which means there is no really pollination or continuation of the agave plants. In fact, the agave plants now are clones, and the lesser long-nosed bat is the bat that pollinates agave plants. And about 7, 8 years ago, that bat was put on the endangered species list. So, Carlos Camarena, who is the master distiller of El Tesoro now, who is Don Felipe's grandson, let 5% of his agaves bloom and flower. And the reason they don't do that is it uses all of its sugar and energy to bloom, which they need the sugars in the agave plants to make the tequila for fermentation. So he let 5% of his agave plants bloom, which 5% might not seem like a lot, but when you got millions, that's a lot. So he let them bloom, and now the bat is no longer on the endangered species list, and that played a big part. And it was a program, it was an act, it was something that other tequila companies could have signed on to as well for their agave plants, but that's what he did. They have 4 generations now of families working at La Alteña. And he says it's a family company not because it's family owned, but because a vast majority, all but 50 of the employees, in fact, of the people that work at La Alteña are families, and their parents work there and their families work there. So it's a continuation, which is really cool, making sure that families have a way to continue to provide for each other and their family members. And they changed the shape and the bottle a little while ago. It didn't used to look like this at all. On the front right here, they have the Tahona pressed saying Tahona crushed, which again, to people that are really into tequila, that's a really big deal. And again, it produces a better taste, just straight up a better tasting tequila. On the back, you have a small little paragraph talking about the founder and how it was founded. And then Carlos Camarena has his signature here. It's screen printed, which is fine, but that's pretty cool as well. And then he talks a little bit about his grandfather up here. Now, they installed solar panels at La Alteña for energy purposes, for natural energy, and they've done a few other things. They use everything possible as compost. They use natural herbicides and fertilizers in their agave fields. And so that's something that I've started to think about. You know, the gigantic, all of these agave fields, what are they doing to keep them safe from pests and things like that? So they use all natural herbicides and fertilizers here. So without further ado, let's try this tequila. I'm excited, like I said, because of how it's made and the traditions that are behind it. Boy, that smells good. Now the topper is cork, and it's inside of, none of this is plastic. I'm not really sure what it's made out of, but the cork itself, the topper, is pretty cool. Woo! There it is. So there's definitely like a flowery smell to this. I had read that there were some interesting nose profiles for it, but I wasn't sure what they were talking about. So I was really excited to just even smell this tequila. So let's see how it tastes. 2018 gold winner, international spirits, traditionally made. Boy, that is smooth. It doesn't hit you, doesn't cut you at all in the back of your throat like some Blancos or Plata or silver tequilas do. Very smooth. You get an agave earthy flavor to it, and that's because of the iron that's in the soil that the agaves come from. Now, there's a lot of Blanco tequilas that I don't think the average person could try or taste or sip on by itself without adding at least some lime juice or being in a margarita, but this is one nothing. It doesn't cut you at all. Excellent job, guys. And this is why I was excited to try it, because I know the copper pot stills are used, the Tahona press is used, the small brick ovens are used, and excellent job, El Tesoro. Thank you for sticking to the traditional methods while everyone else around you almost is going to more modern things. Excellent tequila. And this is one that I definitely recommend you try. You've got to try this. Please try it. Room temperature, no ice, not on the rocks, not in a mixed drink, just by itself first. And just take a little sip, enjoy it, appreciate the tradition that is in this tequila, the hard work that is used to make the tequila. And man, it's definitely one of my favorites so far. Definitely one of my favorites. So, thank you guys for letting me try this for you. I definitely recommend it. Thank you again. This, in fact, was a recommendation from somebody. So please keep the recommendations coming. It's gotten to the point now where I am not really even just randomly picking one anymore. The past about 4 or 5 episodes have been on tequilas that people have recommended to me. So please keep those recommendations coming. Let me know what your favorite tequila is that you'd like me to talk about and try. and I definitely will. And as always, please drink responsibly. Here's to your continued health, wealth, love, and happiness. I'll see you next week.